I was not emotionally prepared for Quantum Leap to come back, and now that the first 2 episodes have aired, I'm still not sure that I'm emotionally prepared for it to come back. See, most of us love a variety of franchises. Just look around me. I love Doctor Who, I love Star Wars, I love the Muppets, Disney, but each of us has what I'm going to call a first fandom. It's kind of like a first love. This is the franchise that you discovered at a pivotal young age, and that, as time went on and as other franchises found their way into your heart, still meant something special to you. Quantum Leap was my first fandom. It was my gateway into every other fandom. I loved this show so much that even though I obsess over Star Trek and the MCU and a million other things, nothing means as much to me as Quantum Leap. And so I wanted to make a quick video talking about why Quantum Leap is important, why the new show is important, and to figure out why the 2022 version of Quantum Leap, well, why it might be in trouble. But before we can do any of that, we have to answer this very important question. 1. What is Quantum Leap? Let's get some context here. There was an era, especially in the 80s and 90s, when networks would air tons of hour-long, what I would call adventure shows. The A-Team, The Dukes of Hazzard, Charlie's Angels, The Greatest American Hero, The Incredible Hulk, MacGyver, and so many more. These were shows that had a somewhat high-concept premise. For example, a team of wrongfully disgraced ex-soldiers helps the poor and needy, or a guy with an alien-created superhero costume helps the poor and needy, or a guy who makes things out of other things helps the poor and needy. You get the gimmick, right? Here's the Incredible Hulk helping a young boy who's being abused by his father. Here's MacGyver saving a girl from an evil sports memorabilia counterfeiter. Here's Mr. T saving residents of an inner-city tenement building from evil developers. There was a formula, is what I'm saying. 2 things tended to be true of these shows. First, the premise was unique. You could turn on any channel and see police officers catching criminals, but only on NBC could you see a guy catching criminals who had a robot car with the voice of Mr. Feeney. And it's in the context of these high-concept adventure shows that I want you to consider the 1989 series Quantum Leap. The premise of this show is that in the far, far future year of 1995, Dr. Sam Beckett invents a time machine that allows him to inhabit the body of somebody in the past. He must remain there, living that person's life until, in the parlance of the show, he changes history for the better, each time striving to put right what once went wrong and hoping that his next leap will be the leap home. This is genius, is it not? I mean, as much as I love the concept of a talking car or whatever, there was always something limited in these types of adventure shows. As much as I want to see the Incredible Hulk devoting his time to helping an aging stage magician, I don't want to spend most of that episode's runtime explaining why the Incredible Hulk is there. There's just so much narrative legwork that has to happen to explain why our heroes get involved in these problems, how they meet the myriad poor, miserable souls that they're destined to help. Quantum Leap very neatly eliminates that whole problem. Dr. Sam Beckett is here because, well, he's just here. He theorizes that God, fate, or time is controlling his leaps, and that's that. No further questions, Your Honor. Why is Sam helping a beauty pageant contestant, a magician, a cadet at a naval college, an epileptic veteran, a trapeze artist, a suburban family? Well, because that's just where he wound up. That's all you need. No scenes of the A-Team stealing a jet, knocking out Mr. T to overcome his fear of flying, and traveling across the country to get to the site of the problem. No, Sam is just there, doing his thing, ready to go from scene 1. But this narrative conceit wasn't just a neat storytelling trick, it also gave the show a soul, and it made it special in a way that no silly, gimmicky vehicle could. With all due respect to Knight Rider, and Airwolf, and Hardcastle and McCormick, Street Hawk, Stingray, and JJ Starbuck, Quantum Leap was different. 2. Quantum Leap's secret power. What is the message of a show like MacGyver or Knight Rider or the A-Team? I guess it might be something like crime doesn't pay, but really the problem with so many of these shows is that while it's fun to watch bad guys get punished and to see good guys act heroic and cool, it's also a shallow kind of fun. And there is a place for that, absolutely, but Quantum Leap has bigger goals in mind for itself. Quantum Leap was about the power of the individual to impact the course of history, and not just the individuals who wind up appearing in history books, but everyday people. The things we do, good and bad, matter, and have far-reaching consequences. What Sam does as a DJ in Peoria matters. What he does as a beauty pageant contestant matters. What he does as a 13-year-old boy, a pregnant teenager, and as an actor on a kids show matters. What we do matters. The choices we make impact one another, and they are powerful, and there is something, well, empowering about that message. And at the same time, in a macro sense, the entire series tells a larger story about the nature of society's progress. Inherent in the show's premise is the limitation that Sam can only leap within his own lifetime, meaning that Sam is stuck in the period between 1953 and the end of the 20th century. This could have very easily meant the show becoming a baby boomer nostalgia fest, filled with wistful recollections about the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and okay, the show sometimes dips into that well. In the world of Quantum Leap, John Lennon's Imagine is the greatest piece of music ever written, and the Vietnam War is the most seminal conflict in the history of humankind. But it does not glorify the past. It's nostalgic, but it's also clear-eyed about the problems of these historical periods, making a point of highlighting time after time after time the various forms of oppression that are near constant presences in these decades. Any time Sam leaps into a non-white, non-male, non-neurotypical person, his problems are compounded, and the show's dialogue about that is not just an afterthought, it's central to the show's core. And while this could have turned the show into a depressing weekly history lesson, it ends up becoming something more, well, focused. The argument that Quantum Leap makes is that while systems of bigotry and intolerance are societal in nature, we individuals still have power. No, Sam can't stop the entire Ku Klux Klan, but he can teach a boy not to embrace racism. Sam can't stop the military from discriminating against gay soldiers, but he can support a gay man who is struggling in this system. And the arc of history that Quantum Leap proposes is one that improves over time. While none of us can make large-scale changes on our own, our actions and attitudes add up, and over time, things have the capacity to improve. And by existing in a nebulous, not-too-distant future, it's implied that many of the problems that were still present when the show was airing could be solved by the end of the 20th century. And this is where the idea of a reboot in the 21st century interests me a lot. 3. Quantum Leap again? We are now around a quarter of our way through the 21st century. There is now almost as much history between the year 2022 and the year Quantum Leap premiered in 1989 as there is between 1989 and the year that Sam Beckett was born. What is the story of the past 30 years going to look like through the lens of this sci-fi concept? What are the lessons that we can take away from the struggles and the problems that we've faced? How has our culture changed, and how could it change? A modern quantum leap could be so much more than an easy cash-in on an established brand. It could be something very exciting. If it was about nothing else, Quantum Leap was always centered on the idea of empathy, of putting ourselves, via our audience surrogate Sam Beckett, into the shoes of those whose experiences we could never truly know, and learning from them. And that's something we could use more of today. 2022 might just be the perfect year to bring this series back. And yet, I'm also worried, more than a little, about whether or not a show like Quantum Leap can exist in 2022. Remember that the original Quantum Leap emerged from a television landscape filled with episodic adventure shows that followed main characters traveling the world, helping the needy, and doing good deeds. Today, well, we've got a lot more serialization in storytelling. We've come to expect overarching plot lines that extend for many episodes, character growth from our leads, changing circumstances, growing threats, dense lore, and, well, Quantum Leap was never really about all of that. Okay, sometimes it was. Let's talk about this. 4. Evil Leapers. In Quantum Leap's fifth and final season, a number of gimmicks were tried that attempted to make the show a bit more exciting and hopefully attract a larger audience. This is where we saw Sam Beckett leap into famous figures like Elvis Presley, Lee Harvey Oswald, and Dr. Ruth. It's when we saw him become Marilyn Monroe's chauffeur and leap beyond his own lifetime into a Civil War soldier. It's in this season when we got to see more and more glimpses behind the scenes of the Quantum Leap project and the world of the future. And it's also the season when the Evil Leapers were introduced. Because, just like Sam seemed destined to put history right, the Evil Leapers, Alia and Zoe, were sent by some malevolent force to corrupt history, to put wrong what once went right. They were part of multiple episodes and were Sam's first and only recurring antagonist. And while some fans absolutely loved the Evil Leapers and enjoyed seeing some more novel leaps, these weren't why Quantum Leap worked. And based on the first 2 episodes of the new Quantum Leap, I'm starting to worry that this reboot will end up looking more like Quantum Leap's final season than its first, more successful 4. Already, we've spent way more time in the present day than we ever did in the original show, and I actually think we might be spending more time there than on the leaps themselves, which, no, I don't like that at all. And while the original series only gave us fleeting glimpses of the other team members like Gushi, here Herbert Magic Williams, Ian Wright, and Security Chief Jen Chow are getting more screen time than the guy who's out there doing the leaps. And yeah, there's nothing wrong with these characters, I like them fine, but it's just frustrating to see a show that's about a time-traveling hero spend so much time in the present-day lab chasing down a conspiracy. And about that conspiracy, just in the first 2 episodes, we've been told that Dr. Ben Song's leap into the past is part of an elaborate plan that involves a secret unknown goal. Already we've gotten a mysterious ring that led to a mystery woman with a mysterious link to the project's past and a hidden underground computer that blew up and not before a secret hard drive could be removed, which unlocked a secret hidden flash drive containing a secret password that unlocked a secret formula, and it's all just too much. I come to see the guy in the past, not for this. And about that guy in the past, well, the bread and butter of classic Quantum Leap was always the stories about regular folks. A rural veterinarian, a nerdy high school student, a wrestler, a lounge singer. Sam would leap into average people in the past and have to solve a problem that mattered not to history, but to them. Here, Dr. Ben Song has so far leapt into a jewel thief who is stealing the Hope Diamond and an astronaut who is constructing the International Space Station. These are not just ordinary folks, these are very important people who are engaging in very high-profile activities that have large historical footprints. This is the antithesis of the original series. To me, the focus of Quantum Leap should be on history, not on science fiction, on the average individual, not the superhuman or superintelligent. And maybe all of my fears are misplaced, and this new show will run for 7 wonderful seasons, and I'll enjoy them even more than I did the original show. I hope so, and I look forward to that. In the meantime, I just wanted to reflect on what made that original series so wonderful and think about these first new leaps that we've gotten in 3 decades. And also, here's the deal. I want you to tell me why I'm wrong. One of the greatest things about starting this channel has been hearing opinions that changed my view of things. I know that my opinions on stuff like the Orville and Star Trek have changed as a result of the opinions I've read in the comments section, and I'd love to hear your perspective on this, one of my all-time favorite shows. I hope to see you again next time. In the meantime, feel free to subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye.